I'd like to call the April the 9th regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the Plaquemines Parish Port Authority to order. And at this time, we will have a machine open for roll call. That's incorrect. Would you clear the machine and let's do it correctly? We have 2 members absent.
Where's the little thing we got to push?
Let the record reflect that 7 members are present. Councilman Lapine and Councilman Byrd are absent today. Parish President's name is Cormier and his directors are here. This time we will move to prayer. Ask everyone to stand and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God. We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We also pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And to this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen.
Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take this back.
Thank you and welcome all to our meeting today. First item, we have no executive sessions for the port. We will move to the status report by the Executive Director, Mr. Sandy Sanders.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I am Sandy Sanders, the Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. Follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period of 13 March through 9 April. Rather lengthy period this time. We did not have a meeting 2 weeks ago due to our participation in the annual PAL conference. During this reporting period, President Cormier, Chairman Roussel, and members of the Parish Economic Development Team met with a firm regarding approaching the Department of Defense and the Navy regarding a strategic partnership in order to introduce commercial air cargo onto the Naval Air Station facilities. The base seems to be underutilized because it's mostly a National Guard reserve base, and the present airframes that are being deployed on the base are aging. This is a model that has been successfully achieved in my hometown of Mobile with regarding Brooklyn Air Force Base and also Corpus Christi Naval Air Station. They are doing the same, and it is a way where the Department of Defense may be able to save some money by sharing the base with commercial interests. It would be a huge economic development to our area, and it would certainly attract some additional commercial air cargo and other folks that are not located in our community. I was asked and accepted to participate in the Plaquemines Parish School Board Advisory Committee along with members of St. Bernard Port and New Orleans Port. This initiative is to introduce into the school system a curriculum that qualifies interested students into other than what I call college swim lane careers. As we all know, college might not be for everyone, and there are a tremendous amount of high-paying jobs here, and shame on us if we don't take interest in our youth and lead them towards these careers that are available. It has been successfully initiated in our school system, and we are assisting in coming up with a curriculum, whereas it would be state-funded, school-funded, a applicant may feel that he might want to go into the maritime industry, and with this curriculum, by the time he graduates from high school, he would have a lot of his certifications completed, and then there's a direct pathway into a lot of high-paying, good jobs here in our community. So it's a very good initiative on the part of 3 lower ports. During this reporting period, we also met with an individual who wants to ask that we take a look at his firm representing both the board, the port, and possibly the parish on a local, state, and federal level, mainly in seeking funding that other entities are successful at going after. Made it very clear that we already have representation, but we will explore what they might be able to do for us. So that's ongoing. We participated with the Ports Association of Louisiana Conference. We co-hosted it along with members of St. Bernard and the Port of New Orleans. And many of our board members came out and participated in the event. It was very successful, and it was very interesting during the conference. They had quite a few state senators and representatives, congressional representatives there, and also all the individuals that are running for governor. And the main theme, the questions were, how would you support ports in our state in the event that you were elected to office? The greatest takeaway, I believe, particularly in the gubernatorial race, is that whoever wins, I think the ports are held very high in all of their platforms. So the ports, the maritime industry, which is the #1 industry in our state, is going to get quite a look at, I believe, funding. You look at Louisiana and what they spend on their maritime industry versus other states, it's pretty dismal. And they all recognize it, and so I think we'll see a big plus up in that area. I represented Louisiana LNG to go to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers regarding a concept that is being done by Valero Refinery upriver. The concept itself is bringing in extremely large, heavy, we're talking 200 million tons components onto their site. If they were to bring this equipment over the levee, on top of the levee, it would definitely damage the levee. So they're talking about building a bridge from their dock on a very low incline and decline down to their site. And the Corps thought it was very interesting, and they're giving it all the attention that it can get right now. We're setting up preliminary engineerings with their top engineer. So that would greatly assist them in keeping their costs down when they build their LNG site. I met with George Pivac with the Venice Port Complex. We are designing a marketing plan. I talked to President Cormier about this. When we're finished with it, we are going to take this marketing plan to a lot of the large oil and gas firms and those support firms to ascertain their interests in locating at the Venice Port Complex in the event the dredging of the Baptiste Colette Bayou materializes. And this would aid in supporting the oil and gas exploration in the Eastern Gulf. I attended the first meeting of the Project Management Committee for the New Orleans Gulf Coast Railroad relocation. It was for preliminary engineering and environmental assessment of the project and the study. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss the project overview, including the history, the studying the area limits, and the purpose. It is anticipated that the study will be complete by June 2016. This is the first item that any construction project of this kind has to take place before we can get the rail out of Belchase and out of Gretna on the relocation. It was very successful. President Cormier also attended this meeting, and we were well represented. We had state folks there, Jefferson Parish, obviously folks from the New Orleans Gulf Coast, and the Regional Planning Commission. Lastly, on today's agenda, there's a resolution which authorizes the port to auction off the Authority 1 and the Authority 2 boats upon the receipt of the new vessels currently under construction. Mr. Chairman, subject to yours or the board members or members of the audience questions or observations, this concludes my report.
Thank you for that report. Are there any comments or questions from the table? I have one inquiry. You know, when we were at the Port Association function, we learned that Fouchon had reduced their rental rates about 20%. Is there any indication that the port complex is going to follow suit to be able to compete? Because we put a lot of effort at public expense to try to encourage business in the Venice Port Complex area. As you mentioned, we're trying to do a marketing strategy. And if they're 20% lower on rates than we are, we're going to be fighting an uphill battle.
Yes, sir. Good observation. And the day that you had asked me about that, I also inquired to the Venice Port Complex, and they were meeting the next day to discuss that very topic. So they are taking that into consideration.
Okay. Any
which
further
is smart
comments?
on their part.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussions? Being none, we thank you for the report. We will move to item 4, which are bids and advertisements. We have none. Introductions of ordinances and resolutions. Councilmember Bartholomew, you have any for the port?
Have none.
None. None.
I have 2. An ordinance authorizing the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to accept a donation towards the port's portion of the Louisiana Economic Development Site certification cost and to amend the General Fund 2015 operating revenue and expenditures budgets and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And a resolution authorizing Maynard Sandy Sanders as Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Louisiana Economic Development for the site certification program in regards to the property obtained for port development and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I have
none.
No further action on the introductions. We will move to item number 6.
A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Port, Harbor, and Terminal District, Plaquemines Port, to dispose of surplus movable property, specifically to dispose of 2 vessels, Authority 1 and Authority 2, on an as-is, whereas basis, and in accordance with Louisiana statutes governing the disposal of movable property owned by a political subdivision of the state and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I will so offer an X for a second. Second by Councilmember Black. Any comments or discussion? These are the 2 vessels that were mentioned in the executive's report. Hearing none. Any from the audience? Hearing none. Machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 7-0. At this time, we'll move to new business. Is there any other items under new business to be discussed today by the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District? Hearing none, we'll move to introductions of resolutions and ordinances. Are there any from Councilman Bartholomew?
No.
I have none.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, I already went through that. That was for suspension of rules, and we have none. Any further business to come before us? We'll move to the approval of the minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
I offer.
Councilman Bartholomew offers, Councilman Juneau seconds, to approve the February 26, 2015 meeting minutes. Any discussion on the minutes? Being none, machine is open. And the minutes are adopted 7-0. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Port Harbor and Terminal District meeting. Second by Councilmember Edgecombe. And the machine is open on the adjournment. And the meeting is adjourned 6-0 on the machine. Is there someone? We have a verbal vote from Ms. Williams. Meeting adjourned at 2:15, 7-0. Thank you. This time we will call the regular scheduled council meeting of April the 9th to order, having machine open this time for roll call. Let the record reflect that there are 7 members present. 2 members are absent. Councilmember Lapine and Burt are absent. Mr. President is here, Mr. Cormier and his 3 directors. We will move to executive session, which we have none. We'll move to item 1B, proclamations.
A proclamation declaring the week of April 19th through 25th, 2015 as Administrative Professionals Week, and April 22nd, 2015 as Administrative Professionals Day in the Parish of Plaquemines.
I'll offer an ask for a unanimous second.
Yes.
A unanimous second. Any comments or discussion? There'll be no one here to accept the proclamation today, so therefore we'll adopt it and forward it to them. Machine is open. And the proclamation is adopted 7-0. Because we have some special guests in the audience today, we wanted to move to item number D, 7D. Councilmember Black.
Yes, I would like to welcome the Our Lady of Perpetual Help School Council, Mr. Linda Rabelais. If you could come up. Is that correct pronunciation?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. And I think Councilmember Juneau knows Miss Heather Giordano,
Yes.
teacher, and I
Yes.
think he has a comment.
I want to thank you, Ms. Rabelais, for being here representing the OLPH. But I know Ms. Heather Giordano has had a heart and passion in this for a few years working with the kids.
Yes, she has.
And at this moment, she's at Notre Dame University because her 2 sons was accepted to attend Notre Dame. So at 2:30, she's having a meeting with the president for her kids at Notre Dame. So I want to congratulate her especially on that. And I know all the kids are very proud of her to have her 2 sons go to Notre Dame. Thank you.
I will pass that on to her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Rabelais, you're here for the Cat Island restoration presentation by the 8th graders of OLPH, a school which I am proud alumni of. So thank you for being here. We have 14 8th graders. If you want to start your presentation, or would you like me to go ahead and introduce the students?
You have a few words to tell?
Of Mr. Frelich?
Words I'd like to say.
Okay, I'll start off with Mr. Frelich.
Okay, Vince Frelich, 14325 Highway 23, Bell Chase, Coastal Restoration Director, Plaquemines Parish Government. Cat Island is located in Cat Bay and was once a very productive bird habitat to a variety of birds, including the brown pelican. Prior to Hurricane Katrina, Cat Island was just once 5 acres, but today it's been reduced to open water. The support to rebuild this vital island has been tremendous, with nearly half the monies raised coming from Shell Corporation, American Bird Conservancy, and CPRA. Numerous other groups have lent their support, such as the Audubon Society, Wildlife Federation, Ducks Unlimited, and numerous other non-governmental groups. Even our own local school, OLPH, has adopted Cat Island as their school project to bring awareness to its importance in the Gulf region. While the island presents many challenges, I believe that many opportunities will present themselves through the project. First, under a demonstration project through the Corps Bud Mat program, material that is dredged annually along the river and later dumped off the outer continental shelf will now be used beneficially to rebuild the island. The ability to expand on this type of project will demonstrate our ability for this parish to work with the Corps in an effort to rebuild our coast. And finally, once built, this island will offer much needed nesting grounds to the over 75% of all migratory birds which pass through this area and offer some of the best fishing and birding to tourists from around the world. Thank you for your support. At this time, I would like the OLPH 8th grade class to give their presentation on Cat Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frelish.
As they're walking up, I'll introduce their names. Olivia Arnold, Killian Barcelona, Jamison Hughes, Chloe Norris, Peyton Rappler, Samantha Arnold, Katie Goins, Elisa Canswick, Madison Tierney, Brayton Whittington, Andrew Baldwin, Jacob Guidry, Samantha Morales, and Valerie Vunovich.
Hello. I am Alyssa Kansowick from OLPH, and this year in religion we are focusing on the subject of social justice. Social justice is when you solve a social injustice permanently, such as racism and equal pay for equal work. In the Catholic Church, there are 7 social justice teachings, and we are focusing on care for God's creation. An example of social justice is give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man a fish, he eats for a lifetime.
I'm Madison Tierney, and Cat Island is located in Barataria Bay, Louisiana. And some of you may have passed it with your boats and even fished there and haven't realized it because how small it's gotten.
Hello, I'm Jacob Guidry. And what is Cat Island? Cat Island is a barrier island for the lower cities such as Belchase, Pierce, and Port Sulphur, and it's a pelican nesting ground.
I'm Valerie Vunovich. Cat Island in 1930 was 360 acres. That is 288 football fields. A few years before the oil spill, it was only 5 acres. That's 4 football fields. So that means that every 20 years, 90 acres of Cat Island is being washed away. The BP oil spill was on April 20th, 2010. It polluted the water, and the oil spill was a mile underwater. And since the oil had poison in it, it killed animals that inhabited the Gulf, and it killed animals that got food resources from the Gulf. The oil also damaged barrier islands, such as Cat Island.
I'm Katie Goins. The effects of the BP oil spill specifically on Cat Island are: it killed the mangrove trees, and it caused the island to die and erode.
I'm Olivia Arnold, and currently in 2015, when the tides are high, Cat Island is the size of a speed bump. Most of you have been to Balestras and have driven over the small yellow speed bumps, and they're supposed to slow your car down, but it doesn't. So imagine an island that small up against a big hurricane. The hurricane will wash the island away, and then there will be nowhere for the pelicans to nest.
I'm Andrew Baldwin, and people wonder why Cat Island is called Cat Island. Locals say Cat Island got its name because they thought they saw wildcats there, but then later they realized it was raccoons, and after that it became a pelican nesting ground. And you can see how like a bobcat's body and a raccoon's body can get mixed up.
I'm Brayton Whittington. Pelicans are indigenous to Plaquemines Parish, and Cat Island is a part of Plaquemines Parish, which is why it's important to save the island.
Hi, I'm Peyton Wappler. Now, as we all know, the brown pelican is a state bird of Louisiana, right? In 1970, the state bird and the brown pelican became endangered. The pesticide DDT poisoned the pelican's eggs. Now what this did is that it made their eggs soft, so the baby pelicans couldn't hatch, and they eventually died while inside the egg. And later on, the DDT was banned, and the pelicans were transplanted from Florida here to Louisiana. And the pelican population was then revived, and as a result of this, they were removed from the endangered list in 2009.
After the BP oil spill, Cat Island was basically destroyed. As Katie says a few slides back, the oil caused the mangrove trees that held the island together to die and erode, so waves hit against the island and the island eroded away. And the pelican population has a possibility to become endangered again if you don't do anything to save the island.
I'm Killian Barcelona. Pelicans nest in colonies usually located on isolated islands. The reason they nest on these islands is because the predators cannot harm them or their eggs. Their nests usually contain 2 to 4 eggs. Some of you may be wondering why the pelicans don't just nest somewhere else on all the islands we have. That's because they are imprinted, which means that wherever they are born, they have to lay their eggs in that same place. And because Cat Island is so destroyed right now, they can't lay their eggs.
Hello, I'm Chloe Norris, and I'm going to talk to you about a lot of the questions that were asked as a project. And one of them is why save Cat Island and why is it important? Well, it protects the mainland from currents and in turn prevents erosion and flooding. And another question that is asked often, well, it's already eroded away after however many years since 1960, so in 15 years won't it be eroded again and we'll have to rebuild it again? The answer is yes, but in 15 years part of Belchase could also be eroded away, so wouldn't you rather rebuild the island instead of part of Belchase?
Hi, I'm Samantha Arnold, and there are many reasons as to why we're trying to save Cat Island, but the main reason is to save the pelicans and their habitat.
So far to raise awareness for our project, we have created T-shirts, pins, pamphlets, and we've also made social media accounts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we made a website at www.pelicancatastrophe.com.
And we also understand that the allocated money towards our project is going to be voted on today, and we would appreciate a positive vote.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.
I would be thank you so much for that presentation. It's definitely a good lead into to this council meeting. It kind of brings it back to perspective from you guys that work so hard, it does give me delight to have this position and allow you guys to do that. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Councilmember Charlie Burt, who helped set this up, who's unable to be here today. So, thank you all.
Students have generously brought you some things that they would like to share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilmember Thalamy.
After listening to the presentation by the outstanding 8th graders, future educators, future lawyers, doctors, future presidents, future council members, future preachers, and everything else there is to be in this great world of ours, there is hope. And from the standpoint of Plaquemines Parish, I can see that Plaqueminians, young Plaqueminians, are concerned about its future. And I just hope that whoever views this tonight will take a vested interest in Plaquemines Parish as they are taking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thalamy. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the administration, I'd just like to congratulate Our Lady of Perpetual Help for producing 2 outstanding students to be accepted and admitted into the University of Notre Dame, Mr. Dana's 2 sons. And of course, in looking at the class, I noticed that there was about a 50% correlation between ladies and men. And so it's great to see that ladies are involved. We need your participation in government and a government issue and educational issues as well as social issues. And so our congratulations go out to you and the entire staff at Our Lady of Perpetual Help.
Thank you. Councilman Exum.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to say outstanding job. Thank you.
I'd also like to say that I deeply appreciated the presentation. I like the equal pay, equal justice. I understand that's a hot issue today. I'm glad you put it in your presentation. So at this time, there's been a request to do a photo, but before we do that, it's always good to get the money first. So we're going to move to that item on 7C, and then if that passes, we'll move to a photo op. At this time, it's requested to move to item 7C. 6C, I'm sorry.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the coastal bird habitat islands Barataria Basin, Cat Islands East and West Project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Edgecombe offers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Juneau.
I think, Mr. President, an order would be a second unanimous on it.
Requested to have a unanimous second. We have a unanimous. Any objection? No objection. What we have before us, partially because of your efforts, is $1.2 million. So with this vote, you can see your accomplishments will be pushing that $1.2 million into the project. At this time, are there any comments or discussion on the item? Being none, the machine is...
No, I got one. Hey, thanks to the kids at OLPH. I'm glad to see somebody that's civic-minded out here other than me sometimes. Oh, listen, we're giving this kind of money to Cat Island. I love Cat Island. You know, when this project going to be finished? We went through this with Billy and PJ back there. Listen, when is this project going to be finished? We're pouring a lot of money in Cat Island. Let's tell the people what it is. We have poured a lot of money in Cat Island, but it's still sinking. What is this going to accomplish? Tell the people straight out what's happening, man. Because this has been a false thing for the last 6, 7 years. Let's be straight up about it. What is this 1-point-something million going to accomplish here?
This $1.2 million will go into the funding, and I've shared your concerns and had many meetings on this issue. And what we have learned is that this island has been designed and engineered once. This will be the second time. It'll be different, supposedly, to allow other funding to come into the source, whether it's BUDMAP or whether it's Restore funds. At this point, it's approximately a 10-acre island, could be 15. So with the redesign, this money is going to go $700,000 to construction, $500,000 to the redesign, unless they can be utilizing some of the previous engineering and geotech work. So what this gets us, it gets us a project, and as I've told John Snell in the past, that because of so much interest, because of the interest of the schools and of the interest of the National Geographic and all of the publicity that's been generated, this, in my mind, was picked out of a lot of islands and made a statement to say that this is an island that we want to save, and it's put it on the front page. So that's why you see the support for it. And there are many islands out there where birds live, and this is one particular one that has caught the attention, and that's why it's receiving the support. So what this will do will get us to a point where hopefully it will be built.
Well, you know, I heard this before. I heard this before. That's what I'm trying to say. You know it just as well as I do. I just hope it's concrete this time. You know, I'm all for it. I'm for it, but let's get a little bit substantive and get it done. You know, we just been throwing money away at this project, man.
Mr. Henry, I got to agree with you, but I'm hoping that this is the final piece that puts it together, and hopefully we can see the project come to construction. Any other comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. At this time, I think Councilor Black, you wanted to take a photo?
Unless they want to stay.
If we have a somewhat lengthy meeting, but not as long as usual. If it's to your advantage to take this photo op as Mr. You have to go back to school? Right. Would you like us to keep you here till after the meeting so you don't have to go back to school?
I personally would not mind, but the school buses would mind tremendously.
At this time, we'll take a 3-minute recess to be able to take a photo op. Thank you. What do you want to do?
Go take a picture.
All right.
That's the collection back.
Sure you would. Y'all ready? I'd like to call the meeting back to order. At this time, we will move to go through the agenda to take any deferrals or withdrawals at this time. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yeah, I'd like to, Jesse, I'd like to defer 7F, and I'd like to take 6B and give it to Mr. Ashcombe. This is his money, so let him deal with the issue. 6B refers steady under my name. I'd like to change it to Mr. Ashcombe.
Okay. Councilmember Black.
None.
None. Councilmember Juneau.
None.
Okay. I have for Councilmember Burt, he would like to defer item 6A2. He would like to withdraw 6. I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. 6E is for withdrawn for Councilmember Burt. I will defer 6J and 6K. For Councilmember Burt, we will defer item L. Councilman Salva.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for now, I would like to defer 6A3 and 6O.
Okay, Councilman Edgecombe.
Yes, sir. 6A1, defer. Also 6A4. And now actually 6B.
6B?
Yes, sir.
Defer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Williams.
I would like to defer 6P. And if no one is in the audience to speak on 7E, I will withdraw that one.
Anyone in the audience to speak on 7E? Seeing none, that item will be deferred as well.
No, withdrawn.
Withdrawn, I'm sorry. At this time, we have items 6A1 to be deferred, 6A3, 6A4 deferred, 6B deferred, 6E withdrawn, J and K deferred, L deferred, and O and P deferred. So if you're here on any of those items will be deferred today, as well as E. We will move back to the regular item on the agenda today, bids and we'll go to status report for Parish President Comey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Update on the orange citrus industry. Mr. Wayne Burgess is here representing the State Agricultural Department, and he was kind enough to deliver some information that I passed out to each of the councilmen. This, of course, is the citrus canker. It's a bacterial disease, and we had a good report from Commissioner Strain that he is working diligently, along with some of our lobbyists in Baton Rouge, to try and accommodate the citrus industry of Plaquemines Parish. We also have information regarding the water and sewer public meetings that will be published in our local paper April 13th in the Belle Chase area at 6 o'clock. All of these meetings will be at 6 o'clock. April 14th at the Port Suffolk YMCA, April 15th at the Buras YMCA, and there is one adjustment on the Percy Griffin Community Center meeting on the East Bank. That will be on the 23rd instead of the 22nd. We had town hall meeting last night in Port Sulphur with District 7, and it was very informative and well attended by the public. Our report on the hurricane conference in Austin, there were 3 probably major items that they discussed. One was storm surge is taking priority now over the category of the storm. The second one was that the wind velocity, and maybe some of you people know this, but the wind velocity during a hurricane is in constant flux, and it changes. It could be 120 miles per hour at 9 o'clock and then drop down to 110 or go back up to 135. So it's something that has to be monitored, and that's the reason why they're putting, I think, more emphasis on the storm surge itself. The forecast, and of course that constantly changes, but their percentage prediction, hopefully, was that Louisiana would have a 12% chance. So that was, you know, a good percentage that we have there. Also on the way, we took the opportunity. I did not want to say a lot about it because I didn't know if the meeting would go through, but a person that we have in the Arlington group in Washington was able to put a meeting together with the BP executive for the United States, Mr. John Menchie, who started his drilling and engineering career here in the Gulf of Mexico, graduate of Washington State University. And so we had a very long and interesting meeting trying to repair relationships with BP and, of course, to get them interested in Plaquemines Parish. Most of their work is actually in Lafourche Parish right now, and so, or Fouchon. And as a result of that, we're trying to, under the circumstances for our local business and industry, to get them back and, again, get our relationships and work in order. I'm also proud to say that today there's going to be a lot of information or voting on the B2 vegetated ridge, and I appreciate the council working with me. We tried to be innovative and use some ingenuity in utilizing these funds that really weren't working for us in the right direction, and as a result of that cooperation, I think that we can utilize the funds to help out the people in the parish. Of course, the first priority being the East Bank residents to get their levees built, and the culverts, and of course other levee projects. All of this money has to be realigned toward projects dealing with coastal restoration and protection. So, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for that opportunity, and I thank the council for their cooperation in putting these B2 vegetated ridge funds to the proper use.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are there any comments or questions from the table on the President's report? Being none? Yes, sir?
I'm sorry.
Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Earl Richard, sir. I wanted to get an update of the condition of the Recreation Department, if that was okay at this time. First, I'm a parish resident since 2005. I'd moved here prior military retired. I've been volunteering with the Rec Department over the last 3 years. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I've represented the parish in the All-Star competition with World Series last year. It's come to my attention that the council voted to create a recreation department position. This was over the last month. This new director is slated to make approximately $62,000 as part of his salary. This is in comparison to what the old director, the previous, was making at $56,000. According to my estimation, if we were to hire a recreation coordinator, which is a civil service position, that position would only, at the medium, make about $24,000. We're talking about a difference of about $37,000 that would be to bring in a person to do the very same job that the previous person was doing. I emailed the council about, I want to say about a couple of weeks ago. I think I emailed each and every one of you concerning this position. The only responses I got were from Councilman Bartholomew and Councilman Burt, who actually put that legislation up on the table, the motion to make that position. The council may provide ordinance. According to what I read, and I talked to Councilman Byrd, he said that he thought it was something that was within the means of the council to create that position, basically creating a whole new secretary under the Department of the President. But from what I read in the charter, under section 5.01, paragraph F, it says that the council may provide ordinance for distribution among the departments of any duties, functions not provided for above, and may transfer duties and functions herein assigned from one department to another, or may consolidate those departments, all as in the judgment of the parish president, parish council, and make for a more orderly and successful operation of parish government. Nowhere in did it state that you could create an entirely new branch under the parish president. Councilman Byrd advised me that he authored the legislation to create a unique Department of Recreation to provide a full-time dedicated resource whose sole responsibility is recreation. In its new and current state, the parish president would appoint that position, am I right? Every parish president as they come in would create a new recreation department the way it's slated, the way it is now. That's not a permanent fix, that would be a 4-year fix. Mr. Freeman was the person that was appointed to that position. He's currently above the age of 60. I don't see how that also adds to the permanent position of also. I don't know how long he would actually, he's already above the retirement age almost. As you're aware, the position was a full-time civil service position previously held by Mr. Corey Bowie. Repositioning the position as a secretary under the parish president in no way benefits the department, in my opinion. In fact, what it only does is allows the president to appoint anyone he sees fits to run that department. This appointment does not require vetting, testing, nor experience as indicated by the president appointment. Mr. Freeman's appointment has negatively affected the morale amongst the members of the Recreation Department. With no experience leading men and women towards a common goal, he has rapidly led the department. Many of those people that work in that department now fear for their jobs and are looking in other directions. These are people that have dedicated themselves to our children over the years that I've been here. At the conclusion of the basketball season last year, I was told that the parish didn't have funding to provide trophies for the children. They were going to just provide paper certificates. This after a long season of a lot of volunteers, a lot of man hours of being on the court, a lot of late hours that I spend on the court with your children and mine. That didn't sit well with me. So a lot of parents called up there and raised their opinion and voiced their anger, and that changed. But it didn't change to my satisfaction because the trophies that they handed out were 1/8 the size of the previous year. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous.
That's quite all right. Do you have some specific questions?
Yes, I do. I'm getting to that, sir.
Okay.
As we begin to conduct the baseball season, it was evident that the department had very little organization. I was out there yesterday with the kids doing the tryouts for baseball. There was no representation from the department, despite having this new position head there. There was no recreation department head.
I beg to differ. I spoke directly to the director, and he was there.
He was there?
Yes, he was.
I'm sorry.
Listen, hold on. We're going to have one at a time, and
can I just finish what I was going to get across, and then you guys can?
Yes.
Please. All right. I was on field 8 at the time, and there was no parish representation until the end of he was there at the beginning, waved, smiled on his cart, and went away. Denials of essential resources to conduct orderly events have been becoming commonplace now. The parish is far behind on upgrading Cypress Park. The basketball courts lack drainage. It was constructed poorly. They require an upgrade for the sake of longevity and safety. The parish also sorely lacks facilities to host basketball events, having to share these resources with the school system, which leads to many games and practices being canceled. I would like to see a responsible council come up with a plan to save the parish money towards improving existing facilities and adding a new gymnasium comparable to the other parishes. Plaquemines Parish is far too rich in resources not to see this through. According to the members of the Recreation Department staff, referees, and insiders of the parish government, the Recreation Department has had difficulties in the past funding and providing field maintenance, referees for games, awards, and funding to send the best of our children to World Series events, which I've been advised that may not be even on the table this year. I'm not inside the department. I'm not inside their budget. I don't have any transparency to that, so it's not my job to fix their budget. What I'm asking from this council and from the parish president is to reconsider repealing that position and placing it back into the Civil Service Department where it was originally stated. Having a person there at a higher pay rate that does the exact same job in no way fixes that department, sir. So I would like the council to consider that. That would be my question.
Okay, first of all, I'll recognize anybody. I have a couple of comments.
Sure.
The civil servants that work under this position, have no fear of the position if they're doing their job, because civil servants will have to go through the same process as any other employee. So if they have a grievance, they could definitely, you have something?
No, I just can't hear Will, so I'm coming.
I'll speak a little louder. So anyway, the fear of the civil servants should be put to rest, because, they have the same protection as any civil servant. As far as the facilities go, we've been here probably 90 days now. And so, the facilities have been there for 30 years. So I tend to agree that maybe they could use some improvement, but you can't point the finger at someone who's only been here for a few days.
Agreed, sir.
And so, whether the trophies are 6 inches or 12 inches, I'm not sure if that makes a difference, but those are just my responses to the comments that you made. And I will recognize anybody else that want to make comments concerning the comments.
Well, I think the majority of what I was trying to get to is that the increase in pay and the position creation, having a recreation department that only manages just the recreation department and not all of recreation, wildlife, and fisheries like most parishes, it just seems to me would be a small waste of a secretarial position. I mean, if you're going to create a secretarial position for that type of...
You're talking about director position.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that's...
Especially at that pay rate.
But it does address other different departments, so if the administration wants to comment on that, it's not just recreation, so.
Well, let me congratulate you on the way that you've presented yourself today. I think that you've given a good statement about your thoughts, and it gives us a chance to express the reasons why we made those changes. First of all, in addressing morale, and again, I don't want to cast stones on anybody else, but it's almost equivalent. I'm going to use the sports analogy. Here it is, we play in a 9-inning game. The past administration has been in there for 8 innings, and then you're going to bring me in relief in the 9th inning, and the bases are loaded and the other team's winning by 24 runs, and then you want me to win the game. So what we have to do is we had to make some adjustments. Now, I can tell you, I knocked on every door in Plaquemines Parish, and I mean every door, trailers, houses included. From Venice, Louisiana to Braithwaite to Belchase, the biggest complaint was the recreation department. And again, I'm not trying to say anything about people who were in the department because I don't know where the breakdown was coming from. I do know that as a coach at South Plaquemines High School, that I share your sentiments. We had a dugout that had room for 11 kids. We had a field that if it rained on Monday, we couldn't get back on it until Friday. We had tarpaulins covering the grandstands. Now, this parish had the opportunity after the BP and Katrina to build things. That wasn't done for whatever reason. And again, maybe there was a good reason why we didn't get it done. But at any rate, the morale of that department was in terrible shape when we took over. The people, if you look at an organization promotes from within if they're successful. That organization was not successful. As a result, how can you promote from within if people weren't doing the job from within the organization? Now again, everybody's got an excuse, but I can tell you I spoke for a lot of things at the Buras Field, including a fence that probably ran from here to the camera, and I could not even get the fence taken down in order to make improvements. So as a result of that, that was the first reason with the morale. The second reason about the increase in revenue is because it was no reflection on the directorship that we had with public service. What we wanted to do was emphasize the recreation department because people were calling for that. So now you are going to have a chance to specify any problems that you have with a particular person. They can't pass the buck on to the director of public service anymore. They've got to go to the person that was responsible. I don't want to say or put things in people's statements that were made, but from what I had with the conversation I had with Councilman Byrd, that the former recreation superintendent had suggested did we do this. Now, Councilman Burt is not here today, but that's what he told me. So on his recommendation, and he was an outstanding athlete, and I think that his hands were tied as far as what he could do. And he took the major, I guess, hits for a lot of things that weren't done correctly. But that was the reason why we gave that small increment, because there was added responsibility with the parks, not only with the recreation department itself. The other thing in regards to basketball, one of the first things that this administration did, in fact, we just got a report, and I have to give it to the council, you had a pavilion that's being built at the Belchase State School. You have no basketball gyms in Plaquemines Parish, or less than what you had before in the 1950s. At that time, and I've addressed this particular item at the PAB when I gave the State of the Union address there, and I don't want to take up all your time, but the parish government had auditoriums. The school had gyms. The school board has gone through and completed their projects after the storm. The parish did not. We don't have enough gyms. It is atrocious that in the town of Belchase that you have one gym. You know, I might ask, how did that ever occur with the population you have in Belchase? So as a result of that, one of the things that we tried to do, and using some ingenuity besides the B2 vegetated ridge, was the first thing we looked at was this pavilion. The pavilion was going to be built to cement in a bandstand of some type, no multi-purpose use. What we've done is created 4 basketball courts, or we hope to, with the permission of the council, to create the 4 basketball courts there, so that we won't have to pay overtime for the recreation people, so that you will have an opportunity in a place where you can utilize more space that was sorely needed in the Belchase area. And you go up and down Plaquemines Parish, and the same thing is true. You can't even hold a parish track meet in Plaquemines Parish.
No.
Now that is offensive, that we have to go to Jefferson Parish with the money that has come through this parish.
Yes.
And I don't want to get carried away, but, you know, getting back to the money now, we don't have the money they had before. This council took responsibility, $15 million, over $15 million in reduction. Price of oil is $55 a barrel that we set. We're not there yet. So we really are in a bind right now. And you have people running around, they're still talking about we're the richest parish. Well, maybe we were, but at the present time, like I said, we've got some difficulties that we're facing, and maybe even greater challenges in the future. But we haven't laid anybody off yet. And that's the main thing we're trying to do, is make sure that we continue to support the parish workers and give them the protection that they need. Having addressed those things, again, there's so many things that we have to take care of. And I would advise you, take a ride to St. Bernard Parish. That entire parish was wiped out. They've got cement stadiums, stadiums that seat 400 and 500 people.
Yes.
We've got bleachers that we put 50 people in.
Yes.
They've got turf, and we don't have anything.
And this was part of my concern, sir, is that
Yes,
going
so
to Covington or
that's
anyone
why
else,
we wanted, just what you said, that's why we wanted to emphasize the recreation program. That's why you, as well as I do, want to have somebody to blame, somebody that I can go to and point the finger where they can't pass the buck like they did, you know, when I was a coach at Buras. You know, I was blaming somebody else. So as a result of that, I hope that I've answered or emphasized some of the reasons why we had to make those moves.
Yes, sir.
And again, if those people would have done their job previously, and everybody would have been happy with the recreation program, we wouldn't have had to make a change. But if you own a boat, and that boat keeps running aground, you're going to get, you know, the captain and the deckhands, I think you're going to go in a different direction. And so that's why we went in the direction we did. And with the support of the council, the person that we chose on his behalf was a man who has been a councilman, a man who was involved in a recreation program, a man who lives in Plaquemines Parish, whose kids went through the program. And so we're hoping that with his knowledge of the parish and his experience in the parish, and with his background, and I have to say, even with the machinery involving lawnmowers, lawnmowers weren't being repaired, they were being discarded. We've got to get down in the nitty-gritty and make sure that we're getting the maximum use out of our money and the potential of the employees, and we hope that they will get some direction under this particular individual and improve their positions and make them available so that maybe they can carry on, as you said, with his age. because he won't be there maybe forever. But then under his leadership and guidance, hopefully they will be able to carry on in a positive direction and improve the morale. Thank you.
I do appreciate your passion for the Recreation Department, sir. The one question that I didn't have answered was, I thought that this was a violation of the charter to create the
I'm
position.
glad you brought that up again. Great question. Mr. Burt came to me and spoke to me about it, and I said, well, the first thing you have to do is address civil service. Mr. Burt went to the Civil Service Department and had it all okayed by them before he made any moves whatsoever. So I really saw no problems with that since we had the direction from Civil Service.
Okay.
Any further comments?
One last thing.
Ms. Salvant?
Okay, I just would like to address the gentleman and just state my position. Earlier, you said that you made phone calls and you sent emails,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
only 2 council members respond to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I intentionally didn't respond.
I was
because
aware of that.
I made my voice known at the table. I was one of the 2 that voted against this legislation, okay? I did not support it then, and I do not support it now. My position was not with the gentleman who was hired. I had problem with the process, and I still have problem with the process.
I
So I
agree.
just wanted to convey that to you.
I agree. I not only have a problem with the process of creating a position, which I still think is illegal, but the amount of money that we're spending on that one position also alarms me. When we're talking about, you yourself mentioned shortfalls on money and being able to afford the things that we want. That $23,000 or $25,000 difference in pay is a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that
was only
went.
a $7,000 difference.
Well, no.
And for $7,000, I think our kids in Plaquemines Parish are well worth
Well,
that.
I don't think it's 7, because if we were to
Hold on.
hire a civil person, a civil service position, it would be at a step 0 position, which would be, according to my estimation, was like $23,000. It wasn't that much.
But it's not a step.
And that's in accordance with the civil service pay scale. It's online. It's the only way I could find it. But it is a huge difference, huge disparity in pay. But I won't keep any more of your time. I just wanted to put that on the floor. I would really like you guys to reconsider repealing that position and putting it back into a civil service position. Thank you.
Thank you. No further comments.
Hold
Councilman Black.
Yes, I do
Mr.
have.
Lawrence.
Lawrence has a comment. On this, I just want one question. The man asked about the charter. And I know the president said they checked, Mr. Byrd checked with civil service. I would assume they checked with legal.
They sure did.
Okay, and not civil service, as far as, is the man right about how the
No.
charter reads? Or
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that's all I want.
Article 5.01
Okay.
E says, "Other departments, offices, and agencies may be established by ordinance of the
Okay.
parish council."
Okay, and there was one other question I wanted to ask onto the president's report, why I really came up here, was on the part with the borrow pits. Again, this has nothing to do with you, but, you know, we're on the president's report, and this gentleman came up and talked about recreation. I'm coming back and asking, what is the status on making sure we adhere to the ordinance on borrow pits? We're supposed to be hiring an engineering company to start. We're talking about going on the east bank of the river and build a levee. There's going to be more borrow pits necessary to do that. We have not taken care of our business on the borrow pits on this side. There's no collection of fees on the 3 cents a ton. And, you know, I've come before y'all before and I said, you know, you're waiting on an engineer and there's stuff you can do in-house to say why we're not getting what we should out of this ordinance. Either do away with the ordinance or enforce the ordinance as is. There's something wrong with this situation that you keep coming up here, and I know this is only 3 months in, I'll grant you. But there's 3 months in that you missed the revenue. And will it be another 8 years that will follow the same as the last administration? I think it's really bad that we have an ordinance on the book and somebody is malfeasance in office if you don't enforce the ordinances. Otherwise, take the ordinances off the book.
Well, let me say this. No, I'm not going to say anything. Let's move. Yes, Mr. Colley.
Since Mr. Lawrence brought it up, the situation with the borrow pits
and I'm going to comment once again. Since we haven't heard anything in many council meetings since, I'm asking the parish president for an update on the collection of sales tax, if and when it is started.
Meyer Engineering Company, as you found out at the last meetings, is in the process of getting that together, all right, so that we're making sure that we're doing it the right way. Now, as you know, people are quick to point out malfeasance in office, and I've stated this when I first came in office. When you do things in a methodical way, from a legal standpoint, from a council standpoint, so that you develop a consensus. You don't go out and be a dictator and take it into your own hands. So we're working with all of those people involved, the engineering company, and all of the other entities that we're dealing with to make sure that we do this the right way and not have legal problems with it afterwards.
I understand that, but this only entity in this parish, or entities in this parish at this times, that are flush with money are the borrow pits and the borrow pit owners. We have many monetary problems here in this parish, including our children and recreational.
Let me interrupt this and say this. I'll ask the secretary to put on the agenda for the next council meeting a status report on the efforts on the borough pit collections for sales tax and compliance with the ordinance. And perhaps you could have Meyer Engineers come and make a presentation at the next meeting, because we're not going to get any accomplishment here if you have no report to offer. So at the next meeting, we will have a discussion on sales tax and collections and the status of the Myers contract as to where we're at on borough pits. We'll put that on the agenda right now. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
Yes, sir. Any other further comments, discussion?
I do have one further comment, just to clarify Mr. Rishu's allegation that the recreation director was not there. I spoke to the recreation director last night at 6:01 p.m. He was actually hitting fungo. I was asking him how the tryouts were going, if we had a good crowd. He called me again at 8:54 p.m. to let me know he was just leaving the field. So I'm sure after spending 4 hours out there for that, then probably spending more than an 8-hour day, I just want to commend him for that, and thank you for your words, Mr. President. I just want to clarify that he was there. Mr. Rishu had an allegation that he wasn't. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Any further
Mr.
comments?
Chairman, I'd like to add to that, that in the 2 games that I attended to check on the basketball playoffs, the director was present on both occasions, sitting in the corner, very nonchalant, not making his position known, but he was there in attendance on all of my occasions that I attended.
Thank you very much. Any further comments? Hopefully not. We'll move on to item number bids and advertisements.
Good afternoon. I'm Brenda Stanton for the Plaquemines Parish Purchasing Agent. I have a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing fire extinguisher services for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use. After due advertisements, bids were received March 31st from the following: Petrotech of Belchase, Red Hawk Fire and Security of New Orleans, Industrial Welding Supply of Belchase, Fire and Safety Commodities of Kenner. Ms. Tony Martinez, Superintendent of the Buildings Department, recommends the acceptance of the overall low bid of Fire and Safety Commodities.
Do I have an offer? I'll offer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Any comments or discussion on the acceptance of the overall low bid, which is the best bid?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none. Any comments from the audience? Hearing none, machine is open. And the bids are accepted 7-0.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing all grease, lubes, etc. for a period of 1 year for parish-wide use. After due advertisements, bids were received March 31st from the following: Go Bear All out of Thibodeau, Gulf Coast All Supply out of Belchase, Blanchard's Auto out of Belchase, Central All of Baton Rouge out of Baton Rouge. It is my recommendation, with the input from department heads, to recommend the acceptance of the low bid for Go Bear All, Gulf Coast All in Supply, the low bid of Blanchard's Auto, and the low bid of Central All for on the items as detailed within.
Okay, do I have an offer to accept the low bids?
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Juneau, second by Councilman Edgecombe. And again, this is accepting the low bids on all the oil products
different items,
as specified
yes, sir.
per item. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, Machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 7-0.
And finally, I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing pipes, saddles, curb stops, fire hydrants, tees, etc., for use by parish-wide for a period of 1 year. After due advertisements, bids were received March 31st from the following: Simsco of Metairie, Louisiana; Coborn Supply of Harvey, Louisiana; Utility Supplies of Metairie; and Southern Pipe and Supply. It is my recommendation with input from department heads to accept the low bid of Simsco, the low bid of Coborn Supply, and the low bid of Louisiana Utility Supplies for the items as detailed within.
Do I have an offer? Yes. Councilman Edgecombe offers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Juneau. Councilman, any questions? Any comments? Hearing none, machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 7-0. That concludes your bids?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item building permits 4A. Construction permits. Oh, I'm sorry, beer and liquor license. Let me revert back to that. Councilman Bartholomew, you have the beer and liquor license?
Yes, I have one, but I need to pass over me right now. I need to get something clarified from the attorney.
Councilman Black? None. Juneau?
None.
None. None. Ms. Williams? Beer and liquor license? We have no beer and liquor license other than Mr. Bartholomew. That's what we're passing over. So we will move to building permits.
Item 4A1, Century Exploration New Orleans LLC, application number 2014-5900, dated October 30, 2014, to install 6-inch gas sail line, meter platform and walkway, California Bay Area. Item 6A2, Plains Pipeline LP, application number 2014-5930, dated November 6, 2014, anomaly repairs along an existing 12-inch BOA, main and loop pipeline, Robinson Canal and Bay Dispute. Item 4A3, Chevron Pipeline Company, application number 2014-5976, dated November 20th, 2014, to lower an existing 8-inch pipeline, Lake Washington Field. 4A4, New Orleans and Gulf Coast Railway Company, application number 2015-152, dated February 18, 2015, to drill 14 soil borings, 9387 Highway 23, Belle Chase. Item 4A5, Castex Energy, Inc., application number 2015-274, dated March 27, 2015, to install 6-inch flow lines and platform, South Pass Block 24.
Is there any objection to taking items 4A1 through 4A5 in globo? Hearing none, I'll ask for an offer. Councilman Edgecombe offers. Is there a second? Councilman Williams seconds. Any comments or discussion on any of the items 1A1 through 5? 4A1 through 5. Mr. Lawrence.
It's a gas sail line. It's probably a gas flow line. And number one, I don't know what a gas sail line is, but.
Okay. Comments noted. Anybody in the permit office want to comment on it? Okay. This is offshore? Offshore sale, so it possibly is a sale line if they're selling the gas off, but transmission line for sure, I would imagine. Okay. Any further comments or discussion on the items?
Yes, could I have an explanation on 4A4?
4A4. It's the railroad drilling the saw borings.
below grade. It's just standard to just test the soil in that area.
Yes, but the location is what I think Ms. Sullivan is alluding to.
That's New Orleans Gulf Coast Railway.
Right, is it?
It's a diesel fueling area in New Orleans Gulf Coast Railway. That's all they said. 9387 Highway 23 in Belchase, Louisiana.
So it's in their stacking yard right there?
Yes,
or
sir.
along the river for a
Yes,
fuel
sir.
dock? I mean,
Yes,
for a
sir.
fuel depot?
Yes, sir.
All right, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, machine is open on 4A1 through 4A5.
John in here.
No.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We moving on. And the resolution, the permits are adopted 5-0. We'll move items 4B, excuse me.
Live Boys 2 Scott Light Fireworks Stand Renewal, 1454 Woodland Highway, Belchase, Louisiana.
Councilmember Black.
Offer.
Councilman Black offers. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on the permit? If not, is there any objection to taking 4B and 4C? If you withdraw your second, Mr. We'll move to item 4C as well, since they're for the same owner.
Live Boys 2 Scott Light Fireworks Stand Renewal, 9263 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana.
Councilmember Juneau.
As read.
Councilman Edgecombe offers, Councilman Juneau seconds. B and C, is there any comments or discussion on the two items? Hearing none, machine is open. And the permits are adopted 7-0. We move to 4D.
J Bar Sportsman's Lodge, Jeffrey Johnson, 2015 Trailer Park Renewal, Galmiche and Doris Lane, Empire, Louisiana.
Councilmember Edgecombe. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Williams. Any comments or discussion on the item? Audience, hearing none, machine is open. And the permit's adopted 7-0. Move to item E.
Snowbite, Shalonda Alexis, Business Occupancy Certificate for a Mobile Snowball Stand, 29473 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana.
Councilman Savant.
Yes, I offer as read.
Councilman offers. Is there a second? Yes. Second, Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on the snowball stand? There are none. Machine is open. And the permit is approved 7-0. We'll move to item 6A2.
What about introduction?
We're going to come back to that.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Belchase Technology, Inc., Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the map of re-subdivision, tract A-3 into tracts A-3A and A-3B, Belchase, Louisiana, by Hugh McCarty III, PLS, dated November 17, 2014, the owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Black.
Offer.
Councilman Black offers. Is there a second? Second, Councilmember Williams. Any comments or discussion on the subdivision? In the audience? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. Next item we have is 7D, I believe.
An ordinance to amend the 2015 Library Services Fund operating expenditure budget, Libraries General Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Bartholomew.
Offer as read.
Councilmember Bartholomew offers. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Councilman Salvin offers. Councilman Bartholomew.
The money's supposed to be already there in the library, they're just moving it around.
No added expenditures, correct? Where's it come from?
Right, no added expenditure.
Comes from the library fund?
Yeah, if you look at it, go ahead.
Okay. So it has no effect on the general fund. Any comments or discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. Move to item F.
In order to transfer funding from the REACH B2 Vegetative Ridge and Marsh Creation Project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the East Bank Levee Hurricane Protection Project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Bartholomew.
Offer as read.
Councilmember Bartholomew offers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any comments or discussion?
How much money we talking about?
$12 million, sir.
How that gonna build a levee?
It's going to go to the funding that's already been accumulated in the fund from the bonds and from the CDBG grant, and it'll put the final phase into construction, which 2 phases are already under contract.
How high would that build a
12 feet.
levee? 12 feet?
I'm sorry, Mr. Bartholomew, you can answer these questions if you'd like.
All right, Mr. Rizal, I mean, y'all quite acquainted, y'all are quite acquainted. Yeah, but it's 12, but if you have any specifics other than that, Mr. Blair is the one that's handling it, but it's to bring it up in the units of 12 feet, compared to sometime we have 6 feet, 8 feet difference disparity throughout the district up on the northern end, and we're hoping that this would be enough to retain the water from overriding and destroying the property in that end, which is very much needed. If this doesn't pass, then we're going to be flooded out again.
Oh, there's a new borrow pit for this, or?
There are 3 or 4 borrow pits already permitted on the East Bank.
I gotta ask, you know.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you the answer.
Okay.
The borrow pits
people
that
need
are
to know,
permitted
you know
over there,
what?
it's up to the contract, it's contractor supply, and this is an effort from taking REACH B2 money, as the President stated earlier today, that we are going to redistribute these funds to projects that we can get built. And so this $12 million goes into the fund to allow the rest of the project, which is the 3rd contract, to be built, and the borrow pit will be selected by the contractor.
Under the first section from Carnarvon to Scarsdale, the pit is going back to, they're hauling out of the Perez pit now. It was out, I think, Liverday or either Liverday pit, but they have problems with the drainage, they're pumping the water out or something, and they have problems keeping the dirt rolling to finish that project. So I saw the trucks there yesterday, and this morning when I passed, I saw them there. Now, they also are working on the last phase, on the lower end, not the last phase, but the lower end. They started that yesterday. They start digging the levee and getting ready to do that. Now, where that dirt going to come from, I don't know. But the contractors getting ready to get that in the borrow pit. The only 2 borrow pits that I know of now. They look like there's some cleaning up that people trying to do over there, but I don't know anything about that.
I know it's a much-needed project, but I just wish the levee could be built a little higher. You know, it's 12 feet. I mean, yeah, 18 feet of water over there, man. You know?
I think the biggest problem is the way the levee is designed. It can only take so much, and we can't go any higher right now. The other problem would be that we'll have to build a brand-new levee. You're talking about billions of dollars. We can't barely get $7 million. I can't get the billion to do what needs to be done. And the Corps itself, I think, would have to step in with the responsibility of funding that particular type of project, which is very much needed. But then you're talking about dealing with some more private expropriating land, redesign, redoing the levee in a different location and everything else. So the best fix possible right now is to renovate that levee up to the 12 feet and get it, and hopefully that'll retain the water from coming in.
We'll explain it, Mr. Bartholomew.
This is a project that I think that if the administration looks at closely with the new contract coming in, you might be able to save some money on inspection services. They have a man out there under an engineering contract that does that. I think you have an individual that you're looking to put to work who's a levy expert. You could put him over there inspecting levies, and this would be a perfect way to save money on the project.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ritten and I had spoken, and of course, we had originally thought about trying to be in-house on a project, but with the specs and the core mandates nowadays, it looks like we'll have to go out and get a contractor. However, as you stated, we will try to do whatever we can do in-house to save as much money as possible. I hope I've stated that correctly, Mr. Rittner.
Inspection services would be one of them. Any further comments or discussion on the item? Mr. Bartholomew? None?
Wait for the vote.
Machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0.
On behalf of the people from the White Ditch North, they want to thank the council and the administration for appropriating funds, which is much needed. And I'm sure you'll sleep easier and better tonight.
Move to item G.
A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier Jr. to enter into and execute the original entity/state agreement for Peters Road Bridge and Extension Phase 2, State Project Number H.008068, Federal Aid Project Number H.008068, herein referred to as the project, with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, DOTD, and the Regional Planning Commission.
I'll offer next for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Juneau. What this is this is an ongoing effort for the Peters Road project. To date, the parish has local fund investment of over $2.1 million, and what this ordinance does, it replaces the previous individual with the new parish president to do the paperwork as needed. Any comments or discussion? Any comments? Hearing none. Has no fiscal impact. Machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 7-0. Move to H.
In order to transfer funding from the REACH B2 Vegetative Ridge and Marsh Creation Project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the Levee Lift Project, WBV-12 project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer next for a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bartholomew. This is another effort of moving REACH B2 funding to the levee project on Walker Road. I'll let you earn some money today. Go right ahead.
Oh, thank you, sir. Blair Rittner, Plaquemines Parish Government. We have two projects today. This WBV-12 and WBV-9A. The Corps of Engineers has about $200–300 million to armor our levees. Basically, Mr. Cormier alluded today about they're concerned more about overtopping, and the Corps has the overtopping project funded. But what's happened here is we accepted these two reaches in the 100-year level of risk reduction. And these levees, as they build them, they all settle. And what's happening is the Corps wants to put this armoring on top of our existing levee. And what we are trying to do is build the levee back to the construction grade, because in 2 years, we would have to come back, remove the armoring, build the levee back up to keep the accreditation in the 100-year level of risk reduction. So here, what we plan on doing is building the levee back to construction grade, and then let the Corps of Engineers come in and armor the levee, and we're going to be good for at least another 10 to 12 years. And the funding obviously would be coming from the B2 project.
Any further comments or discussion? Total amount on this ordinance?
5.8.
5.8 million. 5.8. Any other comments or discussion? Being none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. Move to item I. At this time, we have a resolution. Go ahead.
A resolution of the Plaquemines Parish Council that with concurrence of the parish president to adopt the Plaquemines Parish Hazard Mitigation Plan update dated March 2015.
And this is in concurrence with item E on the agenda, which is a GCR presentation on the parish hazard mitigation. So we got to your item on the list, sir. Mr. Tyler Antrup with GCR will make his presentation.
My name is Tyler Antrup. My address is 2021 Lakeshore Drive in New Orleans. I'm a planner with GCR. I was the lead planner on this project for GCR, preparing the hazard mitigation plan for Plaquemines Parish. It was an honor to work on this plan. So just to give you an overview of the hazard mitigation process, the way that it works is Plaquemines Parish government manages all of the hazard mitigation projects here at the local level. The plan is developed here at the local level, in this case with a consultant. That then is passed up to GOSEP, the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, to review. They're the ones who receive the funds from the federal government and disperse those to the parishes. And then that then goes up to FEMA, who reviews the plan and has to approve it in order to approve the parish's eligibility for hazard mitigation grant funding. To give you an overview of the risk assessment methodology, the risk assessment is the most important part of the hazard mitigation plan. Hazard mitigation for this plan process was defined as sustained actions taken to reduce or eliminate long-term risks from hazards in their efforts. So in effect, mitigation equals prevention in the first place. So with the risk assessment, we look to first identify those hazards, and I'll get to those in just a second, to then profile those hazard events, inventory the assets that could be impacted by the hazard, and then estimate the losses that the parish could see from those so that you can plan for the future to mitigate those losses. The hazards identified in the plan update were flooding, tropical cyclones, coastal hazards, which included subsidence and land loss, levee failures, sinkholes, and tornadoes. And these were the hazards that were identified in the state plan as of the highest risk for Plaquemines Parish, and we wanted to concur with the state plan. The goals identified in this planning process were first to reduce losses to existing and future property due to hazards, second to protect the health and well-being of the people of Plaquemines Parish from negative effects of those hazards, third to ensure the abilities of emergency service providers to continue operating during hazardous events, four to protect existing public and private infrastructure from damage. The types of eligible projects for through hazard mitigation funding, because really what this is it makes the parish eligible for hazard mitigation grant funding. So the types of projects that you could use this funding for, and you have used and will continue to use, are hardening or retrofitting of critical facilities, so adding shutters, new windows, roofs, and that kind of stuff. Drainage projects, so pump stations, canal maintenance, that kind of stuff. Elevation of buildings, safe rooms, and the 5% initiative, which is an initiative that's supposed to come up with more innovative strategies for things like public education, warning systems, and generators. To give you an overview of the public outreach strategy for this plan, we conducted 3 steering committee meetings, which was mostly made up of parish officials, 3 civic committee meetings that was made up of even more parish officials, but also members of the business community and members of the public. We held 2 public meetings, and then we did a public review for 7 days of the final draft, where it was kept at the parish office and at the library with public notices in the paper and the website. The approval process, as I said before, is 3-pronged. So in this case, it actually goes to GOSEP first, then FEMA, then back to you for approval. And once you adopt the plan, then FEMA gives final approval for the plan. Just to give you a quick quote from Nicolette English, who is present here today from GOSEP, is the mitigation planner from the office. She said the Plaquemines Parish plan is one of the top 3 plans she's reviewed. The plan is extremely well organized and a pleasure to read. The vulnerability and impact section is one of the hardest to pass review, and Plaquemines Parish draft passed this element on the first round. She also let me know today that GOSEP is now using the risk assessment portion of the Plaquemines Parish plan as a model to review all risk assessments from all parish plans throughout the state. And this is just my contact information if you have further questions.
So that means you did a good job.
We certainly think so, and GOSEP thinks so. And the plan came back from FEMA with very, very few edits. I was actually able to make the edits in about 30 minutes and return it to them, and where they gave us immediate approval.
Are there any comments or questions? Is anyone here, we're on the discussion item now, but we can move to the I item to adopt it if anyone from the Homeland Security Office will be here to make a presentation or comment on it?
No, the Homeland Security people are not here, but I might say, Mr. Chairman, that I want to congratulate Ms. Hilda Lott on the utilization of this program by the state and the way she's worked with GOSEP since we've been in office.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could just say really quickly too, the adoption of this plan hinges, or is the hinge that has $20 million of hazard mitigation grant funding behind it. So if the parish does not adopt this plan at this time, they risk losing those grant funds, and they would go away in August as their Katrina money. So
Now that's an interesting statement you just made. How much of that's already been spent?
So that's money that hasn't been spent yet.
So we got 20 million coming.
That's what I've been told by GOSEP.
Oh, I offer the second. Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any further comments or discussion on this item?
John didn't hear that yet.
All right, I want 10 of them.
Machine is open.
I'm sorry, hold on.
And the resolution is adopted 7-0. When can we pick up the check?
Nicolette might have a better idea of that.
Yeah, would you like to come up and tell us how we can get this money?
We'll make a trip to Baton Rouge.
I'm serious. Come on up.
I believe that the money has actually already been allocated to 3 different projects, so it's just a matter of...
There we go with the catch.
Nicolette English, I'm with GOSEP. I'm just the planner, so I don't pass out the money, but I'm friends with the people that pass out the money.
Well, that's good.
So, no, you have several, like 3 drainage projects that are about to be approved, and it's Katrina money. It's 100% funded. They're about to be approved. There's a, if you don't have the projects approved by August, all the Katrina money goes away. FEMA's taking it back. So there's a big push to get these projects funded. I think there's 2 safe rooms that have been already funded. There's a critical, 3 drainage projects and a hardening of a critical facility that is on the books. They are working with it right now to get it approved and to be put on the FEMA spend plan. So it's already.
Have they been designed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's already in the process. They've already filled out the applications. They're just going through and getting the final approval from FEMA.
So I guess the projects have been designed conceptually, or they've been engineered and designed, and well, do you know?
All I know is you have the applications ready, and this is without the plan, without having an approved plan, they can't obligate the money.
I understand. I'm just asking if we're backing into this. It seems like since we already did all of this work, if we don't approve this, we don't get the money. So obviously this is a non-brainer.
Right.
Okay. Can we get a list of that?
A list of
the projects?
Of the projects?
That's been
yeah, I mean,
in the process?
Yes. Ms. Hilda should have a list of all of them.
Okay. Well, actually, administration, would you distribute that list to all of us so we'll know what that $20 million will cover?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I got a question for him.
Oh.
Is one of these safe houses, that was a project about 2 months ago. One of these safe houses is going to be a gym at the YMCA. That's what I was told, because that was a $3 million deal that went down through here. You go, Sep.
I wish I could answer that, but obviously I can't answer that. I'm asking for a list now.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We can't answer that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's specifically for that, but it wasn't a $3 million deal. It was authorizing the administration to apply for the grant. That's all it was. It was never an appropriation of money.
But it's not going to go to all the gym also, huh? That's what I was told.
Well, Mr. Henry, we'll have a list from Ms. Lott soon, and at the next meeting, you'll be there?
And please, you don't have to wait until a meeting to come forward and ask for information. You know, we have our offices open all day long, and we'll be glad to share anything with you that you request.
Hey, I'm for a gym, just the one at the YMCA, that's all.
Okay. Yes, Mrs. Alvant?
No, I was.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion? This item's already been adopted. We thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Salvo.
If we could move to 7B, I think there's a gentleman in the audience that would like to do a brief presentation of some services that he would like to see come into the lower end of the parish.
There's been a request to move to item 7B.
Mr. Stanley Johnson.
We didn't vote? No, sir. Machine is open on the last 20 million. I thought we did, but we can do it again.
Yeah, 7-0.
7-0.
Okay, we got it. Clear the desk. There's been a request to move to 7B.
Mr. Johnson, come forward.
Update and presentation by District 7. Councilmember Trufant.
Good evening. I have a ideal idea about an enrichment program opportunity for the lower parish. This proposals to all those who would be in favor of bringing community enrichment opportunities to Plaquemines Parish. First of all, my name is Stanley Johnson. I've been a resident of Plaquemines Parish for the past 20 years. I am married with 3 children. I have been in the medical safety business for the past 18 years. My wife, Brandy, and I also own and operate a small business by the name of Special Needs Medical and Safety for the past 4 years. Initially, the business focused mainly on CPR first aid training. However, due to changes in our economy, as well as workforce qualifications, we feel the need to adapt to the current climate of innovation. In doing so, we have decided to try to add certain services to our training and repertoire. We would like to add TWIC card enrollment renewal, an office down in Port Salford. TWIC is a acronym for Transportation Worker Identification Credential. This thing is needed by most offshore workers. I know IMT needs it. Just about any plant, you can't set foot on the property without this identification. The closest place for renewal and registration is on Chapatulas in New Orleans. And it's very, I guess you would say, tedious to drive all the way up to have this thing done when you need it. We would also like to offer offshore employment certification classes. As stated in the opening, as outlined in the opening statements of this meeting, the school board has curriculum geared towards offshore careers, and they're going to be getting training so they can have certification upon graduation for offshore jobs. But people who are working right now still need to have certain certifications to hold on to the jobs they have. In most cases, companies have to send them all the way to Lafayette, Fouchon, or as far as Baton Rouge to get this training. All of these services named above, if available, will make a tremendous positive impact within Plaquemines Parish. Having accessibility to these resources locally can only improve the rebuilding of our community. Currently we have a partnership at the YMCA Community Center in Port Sulphur, and with CPR and first aid trainings are done frequently. We would like to expand the relationship in regards to the additional services. I would like to utilize space located at the Port Sulphur Community Center to pilot this program. To do so within a parish facility will require a cooperative endeavor agreement. I would also offer reasonable monetary compensation as well as in-kind services to the parish in exchange for operating space. I would ask that all parties be open-minded to the direction of the future of a major workforce of our community. I would also like to have the input of all those who would assist in helping this vision come to fruition. So that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Any comments or discussion? Thank you very much. We will move to item M. Councilman Burt had asked me to move on item M and N for him in his absence. So if there's no objection, we'll move to item M.
An ordinance to transfer funding from the Reach B2 Vegetative Bridge and Marsh Creation Project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the Levee Lift Project WBV-9A and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I also offer for Councilman Byrd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Black. This is the sister project that Mr. Blair can answer on the Oakville area.
Yes, this is the second project I mentioned, WBV 9A. The levee, I didn't give you the location on these two projects. One of them runs, the 12 project runs from the new stop law gate in the Hero Canal about 3 miles up to the new WCC Western Closure Complex. 9A, the one that's up for vote right now, runs from the drop log gate on the lower side of Hero Canal and runs all the way up to Highway 23. It's another armoring project, and what we want to do is lift the levee before the Corps comes in and armors the levee. Again, we're going to save millions because we would have to tear it out in 2 years to do the same exact thing.
This is a transfer of $4,277,396 from the Reach B2 project to this project. Any comments or discussion or questions on this item? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. We will move to item N.
An ordinance to transfer funding from the Reach B2 Vegetative Ridge and Marsh Creation Project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the planning and design of Oakville to La Recite Back Levee, HSDRRS NOV-NFL-04A, and MRL Oakville to La Recite, MRL-WB-179, to 100-year level of risk protection project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer on behalf of Councilmember Byrd. Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Second by Councilmember Juneau.
And this is a project in Jesuit Bend, as everyone knows. After Hurricane Katrina, the 100-year level of risk reduction was stopped in Oakville. Right now, we have an opportunity with the state CPRA, I say CPRA, the state of Louisiana. There's going to be 2 pots of money that are going to be available between this year and next year. If y'all recall, Senator Chris Leopold spoke to the council about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, about these very same monies. And basically what we're going to do is put up the $3 million to start the permit process and the necessary engineering to raise the river levee. And the back levee, as y'all know, is under construction, and it's designed and being built to a 50-year level of risk reduction. However, FEMA looks at the Corps' level of risk reduction. FEMA actually has a lower elevation for 100 years. So the Corps is building it to 50, but FEMA recognizes a 100-year at a lower level. So right now we have an opportunity for the state to give us as much as $200 million to make this a possibility. And we have to start this beginning phase. The permit process on this is going to probably take about 2 years because it's a major change to the Mississippi River levee. So this would be the very beginning of bringing this levee to a 100-year level of risk reduction.
And this is a transfer of $3 million of the Reach B2 funding to this project. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. Move to item Q.
An ordinance to transfer funding from the Reach B2 Vegetative Ridge and Marsh Creation Project from Fort Jackson to Venice to the Bud Map West Bay Project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer as read, just stating that this is $3.3 million. And if anybody has any questions, I'd like Mr. Vincent Frelish or Mr. Blair to speak on this one.
Okay, Councilman Williams' office, is there a second?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Edgecombe, seconds. Any comments or discussion or questions? Basically, yes, Mr. Ragus.
My name is Ken Ragus, 1311 Holiday Place, New Orleans, formerly from Buras. I am, I'm really in awe that all this B2 money from the West Bank is being transferred into a better area. You know that is something that I'm approve of because it is affecting the storm surge in a positive way. It will stop storm surge by placing it on the East Bank and the West Bank in the areas where the back levees need to be raised. But unfortunately, I'm not in favor of this because it is will not affect storm surge by, building up the West Bay project to provide respect there too, because it's not going to provide storm surge, and therefore I'm just would like, if anything, that y'all could kind of put this off and relook at it again and try to seek more information on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ragus. Any further comments or discussion? Just to clarify the issue, the expedience of this project is that the dredge is in the river now. The Corps has $10 million in cash to match with this $3 million, and that's why we are matching it as a coastal restoration project, because the dredge is in the river now and the Corps has the $10 million. And I understand you disagree, but I'm just giving you an explanation of what the project is.
Since it's the last one here, could you tell the public how much they have left in the REACH B2 budget?
Approximately $15 million after this transfer. Thank you. Any further comments or discussion on the item, Mr. President?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I might also add, and what you said is the fact that the importance of this thing is that it will piggyback to the Spanish Pass or Tiger Pass project, which in turn, by keeping the dredge, as you said, in that local vicinity, also to carry over to Baptiste Colette, which we hope to have dredge, which is a key to economic future of the parish in the Venice area.
Yes, Mr. Ragus, one more time.
How will it affect storm surge?
As far as storm surge, the idea, in other words, is the economic impact, as I just stated with Baptiste Colette. I think everybody recognizes that if Plaquemines Parish is going to move forward in the Eastern Gulf with our competition that is moving or really becomes very competitive with Mobile or either out of Biloxi, that we better do something as far as Baptiste Colette to have an outlet on that side. And as I stated earlier, hopefully that's the direction we're going in, to keep the Corps, the dredge in that area, so that we can piggyback on all of these phases that we have projected. And that's after speaking with Colonel Hanson and the Corps. Blair might want to add something to it, or Vincent, Mr. Frelish was also in on some of those meetings.
The West Bank. I agree. Let me just say that I agree with Baptiste Colette. Okay, I agree with that, but you're throwing $3 million away there that you could be protecting more people for the storm surge, even if you started filling in below Ostricka with that. You could dredge there too. The dredge is in the river. How close is it? Do you have to go to west? You're just throwing money away there.
Well, once again, Council, we have to work with the Corps. The Corps does not have that idea, which I support your idea, and that's why we're trying to sell about the ridges on the East Bank. But the question is, at the present time, it's not on the Corps' radar to do those things. So if we can get to that particular point by working with them, that's the objective that we hope to achieve.
Thank you.
Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the ordinance is adopted 7-0. We move to item R.
A resolution allowing Janice Andrew, Justice of the Peace, to use the District 9 Council Office Conference Room to hold court and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilmember Williams.
I'll offer as read.
Councilman Williams offers. Is there a second? I'll second. Councilman Salvon seconds. Any comments or discussion on the item? Hearing none, the audience. Hearing none, the machine is open. And the resolution is adopted 7-0. We have one left item, and then we'll move back to item 5. The next item we have is the approval of the minutes from the March 26, 2015 meeting. Do I have an offer?
I'll offer.
Offer by Councilmember Williams. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Edgecombe. Any comments or discussion on the adoption of the minutes for March the 26th? Hearing none, machine is open. And the minutes are adopted 7-0. At this time, we'll move back to item 5 of introductions and ordinances. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we're going to withdraw 6B instead of deferring it.
6E will be withdrawn.
6B, I think, the one that had about the care money.
Okay, 6B. It's in B. B. Correct. Councilman Bartholomew withdraws 6B, as in boy. B as in boy, 6B.
Yeah, 6B.
At this time, we'll move to item 5, Councilman Bartholomew, introductions of ordinances and resolutions.
Yes, I have two. An ordinance to amend the 2015 Road Maintenance Fund, Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Road Maintenance Public Rights of Way Department, Personnel Service line item, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The other one I have is a resolution appointing members of the Plaquemines Parish Economic Development Board representing District 1 for the term ending December 31st, 2018, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And I'd like to offer under discussion number 7, Mardi Gras pass at the next meeting.
Okay.
None. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Black has none. Councilman Juneau.
Yes, I have two. A resolution authorizing the parish president to enter any and all entity state agreements between Plaquemines Parish government and Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, which are or will be necessary to secure state and federal grant money for ongoing transportation-related projects, and otherwise to do all things necessary and proper to sign, perfect, perform, and enhance those agreements. An ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office regarding parish surplus property, more specifically lots 8B, 8C, and 8D of the C-Train subdivision, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you. Is that all, Mr. Juneau?
That's it.
I have two. An ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Section 15-4 speed limits to include provisions to change the speed limit on Barrier Road, Belchase, Louisiana, to install the appropriate speed limit signs, to establish a penalty for the violation thereof, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And a resolution authorizing and directing Council Chairman Benedict Purcell to request an Attorney General opinion concerning the authority given to the Council via the Parish Charter for Local Self-Government, Section 4.01A, 26, to provide for the compensation and the terms and conditions of employment under which all of its employees shall be employed and work for the Parish of Plaquemines and all other political subdivisions and districts therein, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Salvo.
Yes, sir. I have two. No, matter of fact, I have three. An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as on behalf of the Bureau's Levy District to appropriate new perpetual levy easement and new temporary work area easement in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct New Orleans to Venice, NOV-NF-W-0683, West Point of Lahash to St. Jude Levee project in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana for levee drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purpose, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance by Plaquemines Parish Council as on behalf of the West Bank Levy District to appropriate new perpetual levy easement and new temporary work easement in certain portion of land in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06B4 structural preload projects in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purpose, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan, Road Maintenance District 6 project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Edgecombe.
Yes, sir, I have one, an ordinance to amend 2015 General Fund, Community Program Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Williams.
I have one, an ordinance to officially rename Ladart Lane in Buras, Louisiana to Austin Barrios Lane, authorizing the installation of street signs and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Any further introductions from anyone at the table? Hearing none. Any further business to come before the council today? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Offer it. Councilman Black seconds. Machine is open on the adjournment. And the meeting is adjourned 7-0 at 4:06 p.m. Thank you very much for your indulgence and patience.